It's showtime. Okay.
Okay.
I think we're live.
It says we are.
What are we on? Are we just on YouTube or are we on?
No, we're on. Hold on. I'm trying to get us turn on request to go live. I'm trying to, because there's something I have to.
Yeah, no, I can see us.
Okay.
I can see us.
Happy Friday, Jules.
Happy Friday.
Okay. Oh, I think maybe I have to go on our YouTube to see how many people are there.
Okay.
Yes.
Show. Hello from
Florida.
Fascist America, aka that's funny, Stephen Shelton. I don't know how to get us onto. Oh
YouTube's?
wait, maybe I do.
You know.
No, onto. Copy the stream case. Copy the stream key. I don't see the stream key.
We're just, just getting things going here. So
We
that's all.
are, so it's okay. I want to see the stream key. Share. How do I do that?
Jackie, maybe we should talk about something while later.
Yeah, talk about something.
Why don't you do a dramatic reading of your starred review from Publishers Weekly?
Oh, I like that.
I mean, I didn't read it to begin with. Lane read it, and he does much better reading than I do.
Well, I saw it on Twitter. I could read it.
You
read it.
Absolutely read it. Absolutely.
All right. So I don't know if anyone is watching this, but if they are, this is from what, Wednesday?
Yes.
It was from Wednesday, I think.
Okay, so starred review, Publishers Weekly, The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean by Anne Rose. I am going to read the review.
Oh, goody, please.
As bisexual painter Amanda Mandy Dean's wedding approaches, disaster after disaster looms in the poignant adult debut from YA author Rose, Breakout. Mandy's life unfolds in a series of flashbacks that break up the frantic wedding prep, each focusing on her relationship struggles from junior high through adulthood and leaving readers guessing who will be awaiting her at the altar. There's Brandon with his dimples and fickle heart, V with her artistic soul and tendency to cheat, and the single-mindedly focused Edmund. Through all the romantic turmoil, the one constant is Issa, Mandy's best friend since kindergarten. The pair weather it all together, including family conflicts and broken hearts. Readers are treated to an intimate, vulnerable portrait of a complicated woman who is trying to apply all she's learned into building a life with someone. The joys of living are laid bare alongside such challenges as coming to recognize that one's parents are imperfect and fallible. The result is equal parts heartbreaking and heartwarming. I love that last line.
It is. And did you mention it got a star?
Yes. I said it was a starred review in Publishers Weekly, I think on Wednesday, because I can't remember what day it was.
I think it was Thursday, because we were having our adult team meeting.
It
was yesterday, because I wasn't here on Wednesday. It was yesterday.
That's right. And Anne started screaming and broke down in tears. And
I did.
I don't think she did.
I did. I cried a little bit, but
did you?
Yeah, I did. Well, we were having our meeting, and I was like scrolling through my email, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, that's my book right in that email. What is happening here? And I just click on the link, and I couldn't open it because I'd already read my limit articles for the month.
That's funny.
So we're all texting and saying, who can access this thing? Because I had used up my articles. Hey, Kelly's here.
Is she?
Well, she says she's here.
Where's Kelly? Okay, I'm here. Well, she's here, but she's not here.
She's not here.
In somewhere.
Popping in any second.
And I just want to point out that, as Lane and I obviously run such interesting adult department meetings, Anne does spend the meetings scrolling through her social feed because, we're really boring. So just putting that
it
out
was
there.
my work email that I was scrolling. Thank you
Oh,
very
okay.
much.
Okay.
So
Sure.
A
it
likely
was
story.
the
Sure.
Publishers Weekly daily report, and so I was scrolling through that. Yes, I did.
Did I read it during the meeting? Because
Yes, you
said
did. You did.
I literally have no memory. Like
You
that.
did. You
That's
did a
hilarious.
lovely reading of it. Yes.
Good. I'm glad.
Well,
I know I did. I know I did call Anne afterwards and said, Anne.
You did.
Yes, that I do remember. Hi, Kelly.
She made it.
I made it. So sorry. I'm so.
Oh, please. How
Oh
was
my
your
gosh.
trip?
It was so stressful. I've never. Anyway, it's just the whole day has been insane. But that's okay.
That's too bad.
So a part of my appearance had literally walked in the door and set up my computer, and I've been on a plane since 10 o'clock.
You look fantastic, if I
Yeah.
can say that without it being inappropriate.
I'll say it.
Thank you.
If I looked like that after going through all of that, I would be really happy.
Oh, goody. Goody. So what do we want to talk about? Because I'm not seeing comments, and I'm supposed to be seeing comments.
Well,
Where is everyone today?
Stephen is saying the link in Patreon isn't working.
Oh,
no.
So that's the problem, that people can't, apparently.
People can't post comments except on YouTube. So if people go to YouTube, they can post comments. Interesting. I wonder if I can pay to fix that. I don't know.
I mean, you can pay to get people to do most things. So, you know.
Touche. Because there's like 45, 50 people. Oh, someone's here. They said here. I'm going to put that up because I finally figured out how to do that. Look,
You
see?
did. Look.
See, isn't that cool? I am the master of my abilities. Okay. So I got a very cool email from an editor saying they're taking a project to acquisitions next week. Hello, and thanks for doing this. You're welcome. So I'm super duper excited.
Yay.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't say who because we're literally live. Seems like it would be rude to just start in on questions when y'all are discussing the starred review. No, ask questions. That's what we're here for. We're discussing it because no one's asking questions.
Yeah. Sorry, we kind of hijacked that.
That's funny. Okay. I mean, publishing is in turmoil. A bunch of people got fired at Paget.
Mm-hmm.
I think Little Brown. Am I making that up?
No.
I
was going through an editor list today, and I was like, oh, well, can't send them something.
I know. It's awful. No, it's good. It's reason to celebrate. It is a good reason to celebrate. Anne and I had a conversation. I think Anne probably had conversations with everyone about where's the reviews, and then a Publishers Marketplace. Publishers Weekly pops up. You never know. My question is for you all as writers. I'm not a writer. What is your daily writing process like? Oh, that's a good question. I'm curious about Kelly's because Kelly and I haven't talked about her writing journey so much.
So I get up early. So I'm usually I write from like 6 to 7:30, and then I usually go for a walk or a run depending on my mood, and then I'm usually at my computer doing agency stuff by 8:39.
How many hours a day do you think you write, if that much? Not saying you don't.
Not a lot.
I don't know.
Yeah, not a lot. And sometimes I'll return to it in the evenings if I'm kind of got an idea. But yeah, that's usually my process.
Okay. What about you, Anne? Oh, no, Jackie, go. I'm sorry, I'm rude.
No, I didn't want to. When Anne has finished talking about her process, I'm actually curious how the people watching this feel about agents who are writers, because I know that, you know, the collective wisdom years ago was, oh, well, you don't want an agent who's a writer too, because they're busy with their own stuff. But I think now that so many of us have to have day jobs to support ourselves as well as agenting, it's like, you know, who cares if someone's a writer? And also I find, because I have written stuff in the past, that I understand the writing process in a certain way. So I'm throwing that out there for the people watching. But meanwhile, Anne can answer Lane's question.
Well, I think Kelly is very disciplined, and mass respect there, because I do not have a daily writing anything. Like, I'm lucky if I get a couple words in a week. Like, so I do not prioritize my own writing. I really should give myself a little more priority just for myself. But I generally, it happens when it happens. When the kids are in school, my writing time is car line, and I get a lot of work done then. But now it's summertime, so I don't have car line time. So it's finding that balance again. Okay, where do I stop doing this and start doing this? So,
how long did it take you to write The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean? Notice I said the full name so people know the book.
Well, I mean, and it's also an amazing title.
Yes.
I really
it is
the title. I don't know how long it took me. I don't know. It just did. I just wrote it, and it took as long as it took. So I wasn't like timing myself, or I don't know. I was
Okay.
I really, when I started writing it, I was just writing it because I wanted to write it. I was writing it for me. I had no intention to even sending it to Ava. And we were just on a call, and she's like, well, what the heck are you working on? I was like, oh, I'm just doing this thing. And she's like, well, send it to me. And so I'm like, okay, here you go.
And Ava's your agent at Spielberg?
Yep. Correct. Yes.
Yes. And she's amazing. We love Ava.
We love Ava.
Jackie?
What?
You're a writer. What's your writing process?
Well, it depends on if I'm doing fiction or nonfiction, because if I'm doing fiction, I'm incredibly undisciplined, and, you know, I work in big bursts. Like, I'll have to go to a retreat and do a whole lot of writing and then take a break and then do a whole lot of revision. When I'm doing nonfiction, because I tend to do prescriptive nonfiction, which you can do in chunks really easily because you have an outline and there's a chapter on this and a chapter on that, that I can do, like, you know, this month I'll do this chapter. And that, so, you know, if it's a 12 chapter book, it'll take me a year to finish. And I'm usually revising the earlier chapters with an editor while I'm moving on to the next chapters. So nonfiction structure, very easy. Fiction, I'm just terrible.
To answer your...
I just want to say, I feel like I built myself up to be much more disciplined than I am. That's when I am writing. That's my ideal hours are morning hours. It's not that regular. I'm not writing.
Answer Jackie's question. Jules Sherrod, I hope I'm saying that right. I don't care. Sure. I trust my agent to know how to schedule their own life. Big mistake. You shouldn't trust anyone to schedule their own life.
No. Jules's agent is Sarah. So
Sarah is amazing. Sarah is incredible. I wish I was an agent Sarah like Sarah.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that is the correct answer, because agenting is just like any other day job, right? That we have, even though some of us also have day jobs, right? But it's a job, and writing is we get to do in our time. And so however that looks is however that looks.
I just noticed Mark Matthews here. What's up, Mark Matthews? Question. When notifying agents with outstanding queries that I have an offer of representation, do I disclose who the offer is from? I'm going to jump in because I have a lot of emotions about this, or feelings. So I wouldn't say I have a offer from this person, but I'm the nosy a-hole who always asks who's the offer from. So I'll leave that on the table for everyone.
I don't think it matters. I mean, I sometimes ask, when I ask who the other agent or agents is or are, it's usually when it's a second agent. Like, So when someone is moving from a first agent to a new agent,
Huh.
and I might want to know who the old agent is or who the other offering people are, just so I can get a sense of, at that point, you know what you want in an agent, and I'll have a sense of whether I'm potentially a good fit. So I sometimes ask, but it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly?
I don't generally ask, but I have recently, actually, because Anne, you encouraged me to do so, and it is enlightening. And actually, the last one I passed on. It was a fantastic book, really well written, but I just didn't have the time to give it the consideration that it deserved before the other agent needed to have an answer out of respect. And the other agent, I really respect her, so I was fine saying in that case, you're good to go, you've got a great offer. And it was not something that I had. Anyway, it worked out great, so it was good advice.
Well, it's funny that you said that I gave you that advice, because I generally don't ask. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Usually, I guess it's timing that makes me decide to either ask or not. But yeah, I generally don't ask.
Thinking of timing, I've passed on projects where I'm just like, I don't have the time for this, and I know I'm going to kick myself 6 months down the line because I'm going to see this person win awards and get 7-figure deals. And when it happens, I'm like, I hate being right. All right, next question. Clarion West's Write-a-thon is happening now. That's a nice time for writing.
I've never heard of it, so I'll have to check it out.
Me neither.
It wouldn't matter to me, but I do appreciate the innate connection understanding when an agent is also a writer. That's, yeah, I get it, because, not being a writer, I'm like, I'm not even going to say it because everyone gets offended when I say it, about the stereotype of classic Americana writers, Hemingway, Sylvia Plath, never mind. How was the accidental melatonin nap? Laugh out loud. So if I seem a little whatever, it's because I accidentally took some melatonin instead of Tylenol.
Oh, no.
Just joking. Real question. What books are y'all reading nowish? Difficult to find time to read for fun as an agent, I'm guessing? Yes. Right now, what am I reading? I'm literally reading someone's book. I know the person. I just don't know the book. Anyway, someone else go.
I actually joined my neighborhood book club, started my neighborhood book club for this reason. I needed accountability to just help me read for fun. So I rep Kidlit. So my neighborhood book club is forcing me to read some adult books, and we've read some great ones. The book we're reading currently is The Unwedding by Ali Kandi.
Oh, I want to read that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great so far. And then for fun, I generally have a middle grade or a YA on my bedside table, and I am reading right now M.T. Anderson's Elf, Dog, and Owlhead, which is lovely. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, I've started at least a dozen different books because I do that. I'll pick it up, I'll start reading, and then I'll put it down and start reading something else and this and that. But consistently, right now, I am reading My Roommate is a Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Is she?
Read that one.
It's cute. I've read that.
So I'm almost done with that. I got just a little bit left.
I was slammed with a whole bunch of client manuscripts the last few weeks, and I'm desperately trying to finish them. But I am trying to, at the same time, be reading like one thing that's taking a long time. So I'm listening to on audiobook, I'll get the title wrong, How to Solve Your Own Murder, because I love murder and mystery. It's a really cool setup where the victim is murdered. And the whole point, she knew she was going to be murdered. So everyone has to figure out how she was murdered. It's very cool.
All right. Mark Matthews. if I'm thinking of the right person, I'm horrible with names. I ran into Mark Matthews in an elevator at StokerCon, and he said, "Oh, this is a trope, meeting an agent in an elevator." And I was like, ha, ha, ha. I laughed my ass off the entire time, the rest of the con. Then I saw he was in my query box, and I was like, oh, I have to read this because that guy is so funny.
Did he give you his manuscript in the elevator?
No, he didn't. He was just like, oh, this is like a trope, meeting an agent in an elevator. He didn't even pitch me. It was just, it was funny. I'm always curious. Once an author is signed and a work is ready to go, I'm sure it varies based on a lot of factors, but can you talk about if you send to 2 publishers or 20 publishers or somewhere in between? This is a great question because I have the conversation with every client, and I'm sure everyone else does. I like to go in small targeted rounds, like 6 or 7 at first, to see if we get some kind of consensus. And if everyone come back and says, I hate this character for the exact same reason, we can revise that character without having blown through all the publishers. However, if there's some books like The Spike House where I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to sell for big bucks and I know everyone's going to jump at it, I'll shoot it out to everyone and get an auction going.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I'd love to say that I do that as often as Lane does. Like, yeah, this is going to get an auction going. Let's send it to 50 million people. But I think most of us do sort of discuss the game plan with our clients. Some clients are more interested. Some clients are less interested. Some clients have, editors they absolutely don't want you to send to for whatever reason, or someone that they've met that they'd really like you to send to. So, and it does vary. I mean, for example, I don't do many picture books. Like, I'm not looking for picture books now, but I have clients who write picture books and other things. And I'm being much more conservative just because it's hard to sell them. So I'm sending to smaller groups than I might have previously, just to get a sense of, is this hitting in the market right now? Because I'm less confident just in that space generally. But yeah, generally agree with Lane.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. And I will say, saying what you guys have all said, is it really is a, I talk about it with my clients, though. They know what my strategy is generally and why, especially if it's going to be a very targeted, like an exclusive send for a project, or if it's going to go wide. But if it's a new book, debut author, a lot of times I try to be more targeted with the rounds.
Yep.
And
I have nothing to add because you all hit everything. No, everything you all hit upon it. So.
All right. Well, that's an agent who publishes provides more material to evaluate whether or not you would want to be represented by them. I think I missed something.
I think goes back to the question of, do you want your
being a writer?
Thanks for sharing. They sound like a fun read. Mark Matthews. Haha, yes, that was me. Okay, good. I know names now. Great. That would be pretty darn annoying, and I've got a voice for print, so thanks. Interesting. It seems like a pretty good chunk, 6 or 7. I had the image of first one at a time. Oh no, hell with that.
No.
I want to live. Dumb questions. No, there are no such thing. Who is Tobias Literary Agents? I get this a lot. Family member or literary figure, I'm guessing. I'm just curious. It is a family name. And this is a weird thing, and I'm not trying to knock anyone else, but I think it's the oddest thing to name something after yourself. Like, I thought it would just be so, I don't know, weird and narcissistic to be like, oh, it's the Haymont Agents. It's me.
That has a nice ring to it, though.
I was just like, that's too weird naming it after myself. Let me name it after a family member, someone else. 2, have you ever pitched an idea for a book to an editor before formally taking a client on? I'm guessing no, but it crossed my mind as a question. Ha ha ha. I haven't, and I don't know how ethical that feels.
That would be my
Mhm.
question. Is it like
Right.
if they're not a client and you don't have a duty to them, can you, like, is that almost, it's not, I'm a copyright lawyer, it's not stealing the work, but it's like, it just doesn't feel particularly ethical unless you have unless they said, no, I can't even think of a situation where I would.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure there was someone that was kicked out
Mhm,
of
mhm.
a organization for
Yeah.
doing that
Yeah.
very
Mhm,
thing,
mhm.
actually, because
Yeah.
they were pitching ideas to editors before that they were clients. Yes, and they
Yeah.
were
I
asked
think
to
they
be
were
removed for
sending.
ethical reasons.
Yeah, I think they were sending out manuscripts.
Well, you see, that's a copyright infringement because when you take someone else's manuscript and distribute it without their permission, that is a copyright infringement.
Mhm.
Pitching an idea without permission isn't a copyright infringement, but it's not very ethical.
Yeah, it just feels icky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How is the LGBTQ romance market? I'll let Anne answer this one.
I
Mm,
mean,
buy this book.
I think it's doing pretty good. So I think you should all pre-order a copy of this book that's coming out this September.
The seemingly impossible love life of Amanda Dean, and she's a quote. I'm quoting the book: a bisexual mess.
She's a bi disaster. That is
By
correct.
disaster. That's what it
Yes.
is. Because I didn't
Yes.
know what the hell a bi disaster was. I was like, what kind of disaster is that? I was overthinking it. If you submit a query and then you feel the need to make some improvements to the manuscript, at what volume of change should you withdraw the query? I don't want to answer this one. Someone else. can answer this.
95%. I'm just making that up.
Yeah, I think that if it's significantly different, if you think that the changes significantly alter the materials that you have sent. So if you've changed a paragraph here or there, or, fixed some words or this and that, like, let it go. But if you completely rewrote chapter 1 or decided, oh, wait, no, chapter 1 isn't it, and you cut it, and now chapter 3 is chapter 1, then change it. That's my opinion.
I agree with you, but the question says withdraw the query as opposed to withdraw and submit a new version. And I think those are two different things, because I think if you feel like you've really queried too early and you need to pull the piece to make some revisions, significant revisions, then withdraw. If you submitted the piece, you queried the piece, and you do that thing of, oh, I think chapter 3 is really chapter 1, and then you're likely to submit that and then go, oh, actually, no, it's. So what I'm trying to say is be ready in your mind to go out. If you do go out and query and then you go, oh, I wasn't ready, pull it back and think about it, because none of us have timelines, and we close to queries and we open to queries, and, publishing takes a long time. I've just seen people sort of resubmitting the same query with, I changed chapter 1, I changed chapter 16. And that's telling me you're not clear in your mind if the story's ready. So you be clear before. It's better to withdraw than to just keep resubmitting and resubmitting quickly.
Yeah, I have clients who say, when do you want to see a manuscript? And I say, whenever you feel it's best.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that irks me more, and I know I shouldn't be saying this because there's queriers here, but when you submit it, I start reading, and then you withdraw because you changed chapter 1. I mean, I'm a mass hole, so like the most common stuff annoys me. Like, I don't think anyone else here would care, but I'd sigh.
Well, I think it depends on if it's a client or if it's someone who is in the query box. Because if it's a client and they're rethinking stuff, you might get on a call and discuss it with them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a client.
Yeah, but if it's the query box.
Yeah, if it's a query, I get annoyed. But if it's a client, I mean, that's my job. It's like, All right. Follow-up question. You didn't withdraw, got rejected, resubmit. how much would you have to change for it to be a polite resubmit? I'd say a major rewrite. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah,
And
think
I
it needs
guess,
significant changes.
yeah, I also want to add that if I, and this is me personally, other people may be different. If I say, wow, this could be good, if you thought about this, this, and this, see how you go this query round. But if you do end up revising it, I'd love to take another look. That's me saying I'd really like to see a resubmission if you don't find an agent. If I just send a form rejection, chances are it's just not a great fit for me. I mean, you're welcome always to do a major revision and resubmit, but it sort of seems, and I mean, you don't lose anything, it doesn't cost anything, but it kind of seems like my shorthand is that I do read all of my queries. If I do think something has a lot of potential for my list, but it's not right for me at that point, I'll indicate that but that's me. So everyone does it differently.
no one else.
No,
All right.
it's a good answer.
Do you ever get a manuscript and think this needs to be a novel? What do you do after that?
They had a follow-up, just so you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Screenplay. Yeah, I was going to say.
Oops. I meant a screenplay, not a novel.
Yeah.
Yes, but much more often, I think we get a novel and think it should be a screenplay.
Is that what they're asking?
That's
If
what
we
they-
get a novel and it should be a screenplay, or are we getting a screenplay that we think is a novel?
No, that we get a screenplay and think this needs to be a novel.
Not
What do you
often.
do after that? And I'm looking at you because you actually represent screenwriters.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the question.
Good
So
question.
I think that you have to be specific on like why you're writing in the format that you are. So a screenplay is specifically because you are thinking of this in visual terms. And so while yes, it probably maybe it could be a book, that way that you write it is going to be so different than the way you write it for a screenplay, because in a screenplay you're thinking about camera angles and this and that, and you can move it around a little bit more omnisciently, but a book doesn't always have that ability. And so these are like, it's like, yes, they are both fruit, but one is an apple and one is an orange,
Ooh.
like
I like that.
And I want to add in there that I was confused. I didn't know which way the question was going. I get a lot of screenplay writers who are making something into a novel. And gosh, it so rarely works because of what Anne said, because the person is thinking cinematographically, they're not thinking. So what will happen is either it'll be incredibly sparse and I can't follow it, or it'll be overly exposition heavy because the writer is now doing everything the camera would be doing and describing everything. So it doesn't, that screenplay to novel, I've not seen it done really well, possibly ever.
Two is important to talk about because books do become movies, right? But
Right.
it also takes someone who is very clearly skilled in what's called breaking the book in order to be able to create it into a cinematic format. So they have to figure out what it is that's the heart of the story, because you can't in screenplay, it's like every page is a minute. So you can't have a book that's 350 pages. That's how many?
Long movie.
It's a real long movie. So lots of stuff goes in that.
Thanks for the prior answers. Very helpful, insightful. In your view, experience, are psychological horror and psychological thriller, the same genre, subgenre? Is there a difference? Yes and no. I think horror and thriller are a very fine line. When people, I think, in publishing say thriller, I think they mean espionage, domestic suspense, something where we are meant to be thrilled as opposed to scared. And I know that sounds like a silly kind of nonsense answer, but I mean, it's really kind of the best way to think about it. Like a psychological horror is like the Babadook, or the Cabin at the End of the World. Psychological thriller would kind of be like the Stepfather, if that makes sense, or dark or Sharp Objects. So I hope that helps. If two Tobias agents are interested in a pitch from a Twitter event, could the query be shared internally? No, we fight each other to the death. 2, what are the slow times in publishing agents? I used to think slow times were real, but now I'm not sure that they are, because last summer I literally sold like 6 books, and I was just like, oh, okay, I guess people are still buying and reading.
I constantly do deals in September. Nat brought this up the other day in a meeting, Natasha Morris. She was saying she'd noticed that different agents have different times so it's not the market, it's that just because of the agent's rhythm. And I realized I actually do a lot of closing a lot of deals in December, and that's been consistent for like 3 years, and that's when publishing's meant to be closed. So it may be more, obviously there are more editors in and out over the summer. So for example, I had a piece that went out last week, and one house couldn't make an offer in the time we needed to know because there just weren't enough people, and obviously if they were really interested, they could have done it. But, there's people in and out, and you need to get an acquisitions team together. But you can do it, like if you really want to buy a book in the summer. So I agree with Lane.
To answer the first question about the Twitter, because obviously we do not fight to the death.
Sometimes we do.
Yes, we do.
Sarah and I have totally brawled in the parking lot at a conference.
Yep.
Well, I think it's best to just do one at a time. Pick one first, or you can even just say in the pitch, So Jackie also liked this pitch, so if it doesn't scratch your itch, you can go ahead and if you don't mind, send it along to her to see if it's something because we do share internally.
Yeah, I think just letting them know, who else has liked it is completely fair.
Because we also will know which one of us is better for it too.
Yeah.
I think I need to install or start the policy of fighting to the death.
No, we would lose too many good agents.
That's very true.
Oh, true.
We all know the term schmagents. My writing group has decided there are also schmeditors out there causing just as much damage. We literally had this conversation the other day. I had it with someone.
I think it was me.
It was not me.
It must have been Jackie. Yes?
Well, I would actually like to say, and I'm sure I've said this before in the podcast, but me speaking as a attorney consultant here rather than an agent, and I do think this affects unagented authors a lot, that when you're dealing with, because the digital age makes it possible for really anyone to call themselves an editor. And there's a lot of these little digital only publishing companies springing up, some of which know what they're doing and some of which don't. And as a consultant, I often get people coming to me having signed these really terrible contracts where you're paying money to someone to publish your book. I mean, that's vanity publishing. But these folks will call themselves like, we're a traditional publisher and we share royalties. You just pay us all this money first. And then there never are any royalties. And, that is not illegal. If you have all your contract terms out there in the open, sure, there could be misrepresentations. You have to look at each one separately. But simply offering someone a contract where you say, you pay us this, we'll do this, and if there's any royalties, you'll get this. That's not illegal, but it's really bad. So I get so many folks who, sign a contract because they want to get published and they don't check with the Authors Guild or get onto, I don't know, social media, have a writers group that they're checking it out with. It's very easy. Like you can even Google reviews of publisher, writer beware, those places. Do a tiny bit of research before you start paying money for stuff. Because yes, I've never heard that term, which is why I giggled, but it's a good term.
It is. Boom, boom, boom. Here's one. If our manuscript wins awards, should we notify agents with outstanding queries? Query manager only lets us message to withdraw or notify about representation.
I mean, maybe it's when people pay for it. I get like little questions like, hey, just wondering if you looked at this yet. So I mean, I know that there's a way to message on Query Manager without withdrawing or offering, but I've never done it, so I could not tell you how to do it. But
I get
do know it's
messages.
possible. Yeah, I get messages all the time.
Yeah, I get messages as well. So, but to answer the question, yes, I think that's a reasonable reason to reach out and give the agent an update on your manuscript if it's won an award.
I'd want to say no, but I do it with editors, so yes.
Well, I think it depends a bit on the award too.
Well, that's true.
There's some of those awards that you pay $100
Sure.
and you get a sticker, and I mean that actually does make you look kind of amateurish. But if it's
That's
like
true.
an actual competitive award, like a Writer's Digest, well, I guess you pay for those, but they're, valid contests. So I think, again, do your homework and know sort of what's an award worth mentioning.
Hey all, thanks for doing this. You're welcome. Say we have film interest on a prior indie published project. Should we mention that in a query letter for a totally unrelated project? I hope this question makes sense. Yes, it does, and yes, I would. Because that's attractive to agents, and if either way, someone may ask who is the producer or studio or whatever, and it may be someone we can say, yeah, that's legit, or it may be someone we can say, yeah, that's no one, or that's a scam, because there are a lot of people who like to be producers. Anyone can be a producer. Like La La Land, being an agent, you have to get trained. There's licenses, all that jazz. To be a producer, you can just make a phone call and be like, I'm a producer.
I think there's another reason to mention it in your query letter, and that's to show that you are serious about your career and a wider, you can really promote yourself and your work in a wide variety of industries. And I think that that's also attractive for agents to understand the type of person they'd be interested in working with.
I have to say, Kelly, you just gave me Alan Rickman vibes. I was thinking Galaxy Quest. That's your problem. You were never serious about the craft. So anyone who likes Galaxy Quest, please follow along.
Do you or other agents wait to see if a slush pull request gets an offer from another agent as a sort of filter of quality to save time? Or is that just the myth of the query? That is not just the myth, and editors do the same thing to us.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I don't do that.
I don't do that, though.
I judge queries based on the query itself. I don't care who else has read it, saw it, passed on it. They might not like it. I might love it. It doesn't really make a difference to me. So no, I don't wait to see if someone else jumps at it. Usually if it's just been sitting there, it just means that I haven't had a chance to jump at it. So I think it's more of a myth, except for in Lane's case, because Lane obviously does this.
I'm not saying I do it. I just know other agents do it. And I know for a fact editors do it because I can name an editor who does it that I know for a fact because this person literally told me.
And I actually want to throw in there that I'm actually less likely to offer if other agents are jumping in because, depending on how much I love the piece and how much time I have. But Kelly just gave the example of, well, if I don't if I haven't gotten to it because I don't have the bandwidth. And now it has 6 offers from other agents, and presumably one of them is a good agent. So, like, I'm less likely to jump in if there's a whole lot of, like, I mean, it just doesn't affect me. Like, if I am interested, I'm interested, and if I'm not, I'm not.
True story. Other questions?
Oh, look, Sean is doing Galaxy Quest. I'm so pleased.
Oh, by
Sean.
Grabhar's Hammer. Who said that the other day? Was that you, Anne?
Yes. You shall be avenged.
Yes, Anne said that the other day.
Yes. What a good movie that is.
It's so good.
Oh, this is one of yours, Anne.
Jake, I love you. It is mine.
Yes. I followed him on Twitter and had an exchange with him the other day.
Excellent. Jake is going to be baking this weekend, so be
baking what?
to see some sweet treats. Well, we have a very special Amanda Dean margarita cake that we are going to be giving out as a pre-order incentive, but we have not released that yet because we're still working on some things. So, but Jake helped facilitate that. So,
do I get one?
Of course. You get the
Okay,
recipe. You get the recipe to make the cake. I can't send you a cake. Like, that's not happening.
But you're sending someone else a cake.
No, I'm sending the recipe. You get the recipe on how to make Amanda Dean's margarita cake. It should be fun.
I would absolutely be mad if someone else got the cake and I had to get the recipe. But if everyone's getting the recipe, that's okay.
Everyone. The whole shtick was that Amanda Dean herself has to be able to make said cake. And if you've read the book, which Elaine you have, Amanda is not quite the culinary expert. So it's just going to be very fun and simple and easy, and it'll be delicious as well.
Can I say something to Sean?
Yeah.
No.
I want to just say something to Sean. I just want to say I have one job on this spaceship. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it.
Such a good movie. If you receive a query from someone you previously requested a partial full from, but ultimately rejected, would that make you more or less likely to request again? Well, if I requested the first time, there's probably a chance I would request again. Send me a bug margarita cake.
Don't start with the bugs again, please.
Only Anne would eat a bug cookie. Not everyone else would. That's cake or death at Eat Izzard. I agree. And for everyone who has listened to I was about to say iPod, to the podcast, I have actually been looking up insect bug flour in LA because Anne said she would eat it. So
Kelly missed this delightful episode of the podcast where Anne and Lane could not stop talking about bug cookies and bug flour. And so now there's this whole LA thing where there will be bug eating.
You missed nothing. You missed nothing.
I had absolutely no idea how the conversation started, other than that Anne said she would eat cookies made out of bug flour because it was cookies. And I said there were insects in them, and she said, no, there aren't insects. And I'm like, the flour is made out of bugs. How is it not?
I mean, it's been processed. It's, I don't know.
Cricket flour. Ooh, I think I just found it, Anne.
If it exists, I said I would try it. I'm not here. I'm not here to shame any. It might be, it might be delicious. We will make sure we record this. Don't worry. And we will share it with all of you.
We will share Anne's cricket cookies. Okay. Other questions, thoughts, concerns? That's how I end our agency meetings. I say questions, thoughts, concerns. I add sometimes gossip.
Story.
Oh, it exists. See, it does exist. It does exist. I know with the sheer volume of queries you all receive, it's probably hard, impossible to respond to them all. On average, after how many months should we consider a query rejected?
Well,
Yeah,
for
Lane.
me, I'm going to say for me, I'm going to answer for myself only. I will respond to every single query. So until you hear from me, it is still open on my side. That is how my process works. I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak for myself. So, and I do have some queries that I've had in my box for a very long time, but I will answer them, I promise.
And I'll jump in and say that's the exact same. I respond to every single one, and I read them all myself. And sometimes it's quick, and sometimes it's months, and I'm apologizing for that. But it is, if I haven't responded, it's because I am still considering, and it will eventually get a response.
I am the same, but one thing I have realized is that occasionally when I kick a query to a colleague to look at, it may look to the author like it's sort of got lost in the system.
Wow.
So now I'm tending to put a note to the author saying, hey, I've passed this on to so-and-so, so you know who has it. And either I'll get it back and say we both considered and it's a pass or whatever, or at least you'll know who has it. Because I realized occasionally I'll send something, like I know that I'm up to date till, February or April or whenever it is, but the other person might not be, or they might not be open to queries and they're not looking at, so that's a little glitch that I've discovered, but I'm being very careful now about saying, hey, I have passed this on, just so you know.
I plead the fifth.
Okay.
Why do agents and publishers make a big deal out of social media followers platform when there's no casual link between followers and conversion?
I think that was a causal link.
Causal, yeah.
This is causal. What'd I say?
Casual.
I
mean, there may be a casual link.
That's funny. Causal. I don't know. They think there's a built-in readership.
That. And I think it's different between fiction and nonfiction, because I think there is this expected, being an authority to speak to something. And sometimes that it means you have a lot of social media followers, but also sometimes that just means you have published in, academic papers and people will follow you there. So, I mean, there's different ways around that depending on what you're writing.
Yeah, for fiction, I don't really care. For nonfiction, I do think sometimes there's a causal link because, as Anne said, what we're looking for is platform, like what the editor is looking for is platform, like people who buy the book. So being a recognized authority will sell the book. But if you have a lot of social media followers in the sense that you kind of are, either a celebrity or a recognized presence in that field, then it's a market, then it does become a marketing channel. I have a client who has a very big YouTube channel, which is on exactly what his book is on, and it's nonfiction. And he's going to use that as a marketing platform for the book. So it's not that it's a causal link, but it's that you can operationalize that as part of your marketing platform.
Yeah, for fiction, I don't think social media necessarily matters. I don't know. I think I have like 6,000 followers on Twitter, and I don't think anyone pays attention to anything I say on Twitter. So, I mean, it's just the number. The first 50 pages by Jeff Gerke has a chapter on inner journeys featuring Rickman's character by Grabthar's Hammer. What a savings.
What a savings.
I agree. When my fiance first gave me a key to her apartment, she also gave me a souvenir gift of chocolate-covered crickets from a trip to San Francisco. Still gonna marry her. That's my cricket. Oh, were they good? My nephew eats chocolate-covered crickets, and I think it's the most disgusting thing ever. There's my story. Follow up. Should memoir with novel-like plot be treated like fiction or nonfiction for platform? Nonfiction. Sean says they were okay. Okay in what way? Okay as in, like, I'd eat them again okay? Or okay as in, like, I didn't die of poison?
I think he didn't die of
crunchy.
poison. Yeah.
Yeah. Bit crunchy means like they're gross.
You were very brave, Sean. Very
Yes.
brave.
See, I felt brave. There you go. Sean felt brave. I'm not gonna lie, I'll be honest. I had escargot once on a cruise because someone dared me to, and I have never forgiven myself, and I've never gotten over the taste and the feeling of
I've totally eaten escargot.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you love it.
It's fine. You put on some bread, some garlic.
Yeah, it figures.
I have
You
to
dip your
say,
little bread in that little circle
Sean
thing with all the
is
butter.
cracking me up.
Yeah.
Sean should be on this podcast.
I know. He said,
Yeah.
like I could survive a dystopian future. Yeah, man, if you're eating chocolate-covered crickets, basically.
You wouldn't have the
Right.
chocolate, though.
Hey, man, there's a grocery store near my house with an entire section. Ooh, and where do you live, Jesse? Or, I mean, state. Not like, don't tell us like your
Personal
address.
address.
Careful.
Yeah, don't tell us your address. But I mean,
Careful there.
I'm curious if this is like something I could easily get in LA, which I assume I can because everyone's a crunchy hippie there. It's delicious.
Ohio, I could get
Do you all read slush queries in order typically or skip around? Do you put in some in a maybe pile and then mentally sort of rank them? Just curious how the process works. I skip around like a lunatic. I never go in order, and I do put them in a maybe pile. Why are you laughing at everything I say?
You're like, I'm a lunatic. Like, listen, I have no process. I do nothing. I just do the things, and you're just gonna. There's no rhyme or reason, and that's just it.
Sometimes I go to horror. Sometimes I go to nonfiction. Sometimes I go to thriller. It's literally whatever, I don't know, strikes my fancy.
I do. I'm tending to skip around more and more, and part of it is because sometimes I'm in the mood for reading fantasy, and so. But I try to go in order from the longest I've had them to the most recent. But sometimes I'll pick. Sometimes I want middle grade. Sometimes I'm in the mood for reading YA. So, I've recently learned that sometimes writers can see if the queries before theirs or after have been opened, so they think that that means theirs is coming up in the queue, and that used to be true for me, but now I'm sorry to say that doesn't necessarily. Might get
is that true?
Yeah,
It is true. And
so people can see when I've opened and when I'm fucked. So Jesse lives in Ohio. That's good to know. Oh man. I've eaten escargot like eating. Thank you. It was literally like rubber. And
You just had bad escargot. I'm sorry to tell you.
And I will never forgive myself, and the snails will never forgive me. I keep kosher, so no cricket flour or esco. Well, there you go. Like shrimp, it's overcooked. Just wanted to thank you all again for doing this. It's always informative to get insights from the other side. Thanks. Thank you for showing up. Do y'all have rules of thumb that cause you to immediately stop reading and reject a manuscript? Not red flags, just hints that you use to save time.
Ooh.
I have pet peeves, but I know everyone disagrees with my pet peeves, and they're not necessarily things that would cause me to reject a manuscript, but they're just things I don't like, usually in the query letter. But if I say them, everyone's going to scream at me, so I don't want to say them.
I want to hear Anne's.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I only reject things like immediately if it's a red flag to me.
Yeah.
That's a lie. You don't like stuff where it opens with the character waking up.
I don't, but I've already literally read the entire query, probably looked at the synopsis, and now I'm looking into the pages. So I think that is fair to say, okay, well, this opening isn't for me. I pass.
Okay, but that's what we're talking about. Reading and reject the manuscript, not the query.
Do you have rules of thumb
Oh,
that cause you to immediately
yeah.
stop reading? Oh, yeah. See,
Yeah.
I can't get past if it starts with the character waking up. So if it's like Bob awoke, I'm pretty much out. Sometimes I'll like scroll to like the second chapter just to see how that starts, to see if maybe that's where the book should start. But generally speaking, yeah, if it starts with the character waking up, I generally just can't get into it because I just know it's not starting in the right place.
Anne hates waking up.
I do. You will all notice it. Pay attention in the shows that you watch, like pilots. They do it in books. They do it. It happens in almost. I can't tell you how many Hallmark Christmas movies start with the alarm clock and the character waking up.
Yep.
Just watch.
Yep.
You'll see. You'll see.
Yep.
Kelly?
I'm not a fond of waking up. Yeah, I don't really have pet peeves that would cause me to immediately reject. I rep Kidlit. So if you have paragraph upon paragraph of description and that's how you open, and there's no bringing me right into a scene, it's probably not going to be great for middle grade or YA. But I still read the pages. It would be more. I wouldn't just look at them and say, "Oh, there's no white space here. It's just tons of paragraphs." I wouldn't just reject on that. I'd read them first.
Do agents also stress the timeline of publishing, which seems to grow increasingly slower over the years? Yes. And Anne, that's your client. So obviously you need to have a conversation. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
What's that?
Do you read the whole MS to the end before an offer? Do you base your interest on whether you reached the end or stopped reading? Those are good questions.
I will always finish the manuscript, read the entire manuscript before I make an offer.
Yeah.
Always.
Same.
Yeah.
A friend published with a small press without an agent. His book was won quite a few awards, but now the small press is going under. He thinks that agents won't want to touch the book. Should he query it?
Jake, let's talk offline about this and see if we can help your friend out. So you can text me.
Yeah. Querying authors notoriously obsess over all your query reply data. We are terrible that way. Don't obsess over mine because it'll make you
bananas.
Yeah, it'll drag you into, a Lovecraft story. Like, have you ever reached the end but still didn't rep it, or the reverse? Yeah.
Not the reverse.
Not the reverse. Just
not the
first
reverse, but the first. Yeah.
What is the reverse?
Or the
not
reverse.
reaching the end and still offering.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
In Query Manager, we know only when you reject or take other action on other queries, not when you open them. So what does that mean, action on other queries?
Like if you reject or request them. So I think like a red sad face means that you have rejected it, and a green happy face means you have requested it.
Do you tend to read in chunks or all at once, like a book, or spread over? So some books I've read all at once. Usually clients, I read a book all at once. I'm like, oh, I'm repping this. Other times it's over months. Anyone else?
I think you're asking about reading a requested manuscript, whether or not you read that. So what I actually do is I send them to my Kindle and I read them. And my goal is to see if I can read them like a book and get immersed in it and trick my editor brain to shut off and just enjoy the story. And if I can do that by the end of the book, remind myself, oh, this is just a manuscript. This hasn't been published yet. And then I go back and start seriously thinking about, am I the right person for this? Would I be able to place it in the market. Now, if you're asking about whether or not we read our slush or queries all in chunks, yeah, I usually have a period of the day where I sit down and go through maybe 10 or 15 at a time. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Lane, do you rep horror novellas, or is that more something you would sell for one of your existing clients and not take someone on with one? I think because of the pandemic, I don't know if it's the same in other genres, but people are okay looking at shorter works now. Like if a book is 50,000, I might be able to get away with actually shopping it and people buying it and saying we bump up the words. I don't know if it's like that in other genres. Anne, Jackie, Kelly.
No, I haven't noticed that.
Well, I don't know what I'm talking about. Nick Roberts. Oh, I know you from Twitter. I'm a horror genre author, and my goal is to secure a literary agent. I owe an audiobook to Tantor, but I'm planning the next one. Should I only query agents when I have a completed project, or is it appropriate to reach out to an agent based on my previous work? Reach out to an agent based on your previous work. Maybe you two can concoct an idea. It's a relief when Lane gets through my question without stumbling because I'm supposed to be able to write dialogue. That's funny. I can't read. Anne is rubbed off on me.
It's my fault. It really is.
I meant reading a full request. Yes, thank you. Love hearing all of your processes for considering full MS reads. Thank you. You're welcome. What's the number one querying mistake you tell writers in the trenches to avoid, other than starting books waking up or looking in a mirror?
Or a weather report. I hate when a book starts with a weather report, but that's my little thing. I am prepared to say that. It's the stuff in the query letters that I'm very persnickety about that I don't want to say.
I love that word, persnickety.
So my number one querying mistake is when writers, I say this all the time, they tell me, they talk about the book rather than telling me what the book is about. And I think people don't realize that that's what they're doing. But, I want to be able to finish reading the query and know who the character is, what they want, what the major dramatic question is, what the book is going to be about. Not that it's a beautiful reflection on, the human nature and, with themes of climate change, or I don't know. Tell me what the book is about.
I agree.
Do you reformat manuscripts to make them more book-like? Yes, absolutely. And especially when I send them out in submission. For some reason, some people do not format, and it's just easier for me to reformat it. And I know from editors that they reformat our submissions to their liking.
Huh. I make my clients format their manuscripts properly before we submit them.
I blame my mother because growing up, she used to say it's easier to do it myself than to ask you. So that just sticks in my head.
I'm even going to do a whole talk about it at our retreat coming up about how to format your manuscript properly. So
the one I wasn't invited to?
That is correct. The one that you are not invited to.
Cool. Thanks. Do you think romance horror is the new romantasy? Oh, I've seen this discourse. Horror romance has been around for hundreds of years. That's what the Gothic is. Gothic was literally like horror romance. That's the end of that discussion because that's just like historical
I think we're just
facts.
Calling it a new name, but it's been around.
Yeah. Mary Shelley, Anne Radcliffe, Anne Rose. All right. You all are so wonderful and funny. I always leave with a smile on my face. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Everyone always leaves with a smile on their face when Jake is around. So
Yes.
I think that is, fair. So
I will say one thing I like about our agency is that we're all collaborative in that, like, Anne is friends with some of my clients and I am adorkable.
You are not invited to her retreat. That's how much friends you are with her.
Yeah,
clients.
I know. But I like a lot of her clients, like Stan. I love
But
Stan. He's
everyone loves
fantastic.
Stan. I mean, Stan is amazing.
Well, I like Jake. Jake's amazing.
Yeah, Jake's amazing.
How many
Melissa's
rounds
here
of
too, don't
edits?
forget.
What?
Melissa is here too. Don't forget.
Oh, I know.
Shout
Melissa
out to
Tyndale.
Melissa.
Yeah, I didn't. What do you call it? Exchange talk on Twitter?
Yeah.
How many rounds of edits do you typically do with clients? I think I heard up to 3 in a past episode from Agent Ann. Oh, I love that. Also, roughly what percentage of current client projects do you send out versus reject?
Good question.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, like, when do you decide you can't, like, something's just not going to work? Versus
a client project?
Yeah.
Oh.
I usually like to have conversations well in advance of having the project before we go out. So I think that conversation happens before the writing process. At least that's always my goal. So there's never any spinning of wheels. But sometimes 2 to 3 rounds I think is fair to go around. After that, you start losing your objectivity of it. And it's just like you start getting too close to the manuscript and can't see the forest through the trees at that point. So
yeah,
it's interesting because before you said that on the podcast, I hadn't realized that myself, but that's really true. Like, there is a point at which I'm so stale on it that I'm not much use, and it is about 3. It is about 3 rounds.
It's interesting because I had a graduate course where the professor said you have to read something 3 times. So I wonder, I guess that's just a universal truth. Jane Austen's Northern Air Happy. That was a good one. Okay, so we've been on for 1 hour and 11 minutes. I think any final questions?
My question is, why don't my clients ever come to these? Are my clients
None of my clients come either. I mean,
I have the best clients. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I love
we
them
know.
all.
I think
Best.
yes, I think Anne cultivates that family dynamic, the rosebuds. I see people online on Twitter saying they want to be a rosebud. I want to be a rosebud because I don't get invited to retreats.
We even have a patch. You can wear it on your jacket or anything, so you can have.
Yeah,
I have to have. You have to send me one.
Him.
Yeah, you have to give me one.
I have to give you one. You have to earn one.
As I can make an executive decision that as the president of the agency, I am an honorary rosebud.
I think the rosebuds at the retreat will get together and we'll discuss what you need to do to fulfill the requirement to get one of these.
All right, everyone, Jake, Melissa, you hear that? Please vote for me.
They're both coming to the retreat, so
good. Then they can try and get me a rosebud thing.
Lane, you don't have to feel that bad because I live 20 minutes away from where they're going to be retreating and I haven't gotten an invitation. So there you go.
Oh, Anne, that's fucked up, Anne. Come on.
We have a lot of people coming.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. The best part of the job, getting to call a client and say, hey, guess what? You're publishing with Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Ernest Hemingway, getting to call with the deal.
Yeah. I would say, and that is very true, I was thinking this to myself the other day because I was putting up some new shelving and putting client books back in order and just helping to bring amazing books in the world, like having a shelf full of these amazing books and saying, hey, I helped. I did something that mattered because I've done a lot of jobs in my life that I didn't think it mattered. And I do think this matters. So that's been making me very happy this week.
Absolutely. And it's funny at bookstores when I'm buying a client's book, I say, "Oh, I helped sell this book. It's my client," and they're never impressed. And I'm always kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm always like, "You're the ones that are
so
supposed
true.
to be so impressed." Like you're selling the book. Why are you not impressed?
I tell you, when Marcy Rendon's re-released Cash Black Bear series came out with Soho Crime, and that was the first sort of big deal I did with her, and I went into my Barnes and Noble, and all of the volumes were on the shelf. I literally jumped up and down. Everyone was looking at me like, really odd woman over there in the mystery section. Don't go in there. But I couldn't. I was just so excited to see them.
Yeah, as a kid, when I'd be in bookstores, I'd look at all the books and wonder how this got there, who was involved, who made it happen. And now getting to be a tiny little small part of that is pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Is 64K YA thriller too short? No.
For a friend. I love it.
For a friend. I didn't even see that.
Tell your friend it's okay.
And I don't like seeing someone's worked with an editor or consultant, because what that means is you didn't do what I'm looking at. So I don't know if that's representative of your skill or talent. And you disagree?
Well, I don't like it. I'm going to be on Lane's side here, because if you're paying someone to edit, that doesn't say anything about your writing. So often people will say, I worked with this big deal editor who said my book was blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but you paid them. So, it's kind of like, so Anne's going to disagree with us. But
no, I thought it was an interesting perspective. I had never thought about it that way. So I think that's an interesting, but you're right, because someone else had their hands in it. So is it indicative to their work? That is a really good question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with working with professional editors, and I've done it. I just don't think it's a feature of the book. I don't think it's something you want to stress in the query letter.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Sean Faust.
Yeah.
Faust. For if you hire someone, a consultant or an editor to walk you through it, I'm like, but I'm not reading you. I'm reading that person. Okay, I think we're going to hop off because it's Friday night and there's some show I want to watch. What show is it? Oh, it's Evil. The new episode of Evil is on, and I love that show.
Doctor Who, Friday, Doctor Who, folks, season finale.
Season 55.
Season 370, whatever. Yeah.
Right? Thank you so much for doing this, Team Tobias. Woo! Really helpful, informative, especially for writers new to the industry. Yeah, I'm very happy we have 195 people here, and I don't know if I know 195 people in real life.
Sure, I don't.
All right. Well, we will do this again soon. Don't get me started. So I'm still a little foggy. But anything else anyone wants to say as a sign off?
Well, if we have 195 people, right? I don't know. Do you have anything important to say?
Watch the podcast, because you can hear Lane and Anne talking about bug cookies.
Yes, watch our podcast.
Important stuff.
Anne and I do a Quelling Your Query Conundrums. You can submit your query to for us to possibly quell your conundrums. That airs Wednesdays. No, it airs Mondays usually. Wednesdays are our literary lens, where we, shoot the shit and talk publishing stuff. And Anne has a new book coming out. Anne, can you tell us about your book?
Well, Lane, thank you so much. Yeah. My book, The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean, is coming out this year in September from Berkeley Romance. And so go order a copy, please, because I need to pay my bills.
All right. Bye.